Cool. So, Dave, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your time for Isolated. It's absolutely appreciated. For those who don't know you, Dave, you're a copywriter. You're based in Liverpool. How long have you been writing copy?
I've been full-time freelance now for 4 years, but writing copy altogether for 15, 16 years now.
15, 16 years. Wow, you look a day over 16, mate. You don't look a day over 16. You're a young man. So I wanted to talk to you because you're particularly successful at something. One thing I love what you do on all the social media channels, but particularly LinkedIn, you use it quite heavily, I think. And it's a brilliant way of getting new clients, which obviously where we are at the moment, a lot of copywriters are worried about the future. A lot of agencies are kind of cutting advertising budgets. People are thinking, oh, maybe this isn't the time to get copywriter help. But I would personally argue that it's one of the times you need a copywriter more than ever. You need to be able to communicate with people and understand that. But I thought it would be brilliant for you to share what you've been doing, how you've been doing, and how other people might be able to use this technique because it's a universal thing that people can do. So perhaps if you just give us a little background about what have you been doing? How did this idea come about?
Okay, sure, yeah. I mean, it all started for me taking LinkedIn seriously from a marketing perspective. About 2 years ago it was, when I just out the blue thought I'll test a few posts out because traditionally I'd always seen LinkedIn as just an extension of my CV. And I think a lot of people tend to do that. You take the CV, the usual, I'm a hardworking, adaptable, diligent, all that shite, bung it onto their profile and then just kind of let it fester. Whereas LinkedIn a couple of years ago turned their main, when you log into the app, turned that into almost like Facebook. So it was a wall of content. So I saw an opportunity there and put a few different posts out, but the one that really stuck for me, it was about sausage butties, believe it or not, or sausage on toast. So this one post I put on, it shows
sausage on toast. Sorry to interrupt you, but sausage on toast. What are you talking about?
It was about sausage on toast. Yeah.
But no, but what is sausage on toast?
Which in itself is polarizing because I know
sausage on toast.
I know all the people up here north of say Watford Gap knows what sausage on toast is. Everybody else, sausage sandwich. Surely.
Sausage sandwich, yeah. Sausage on toast. I'm from Grimsby, man. I've never heard of it. Anyway, carry on. This is where I am in the east. I'm in the east, not the north.
Okay, fair enough. So that was one of the conversation points as well when I did the post. So the post itself, it got 1 million, around just under 1 million views.
Wow.
It tells you the metrics. It got me 1,000 new connections. I had like 500 at the time, so it like more than trebled. Maths isn't my strong, but yeah, trebled my number of connections. I got about 300 inquiries from it, and it turned into about £30,000 worth of business just off that one sausage on toast post. Yeah. So here's how it went. So the post went: how to charge more for the same thing. Sausage on toast, £3. Sage and thyme linkage to sausages on toasted sourdough, £5.95. 3 award-winning Lincolnshire sausages made from the finest local lean pork steak atop 2 thick slices of lightly toasted organic sourdough, £8. Want your stuff to sound more appealing? Give me a bell. So that was it. Really short, really snappy, but it caught fire. And there's clear reasons for that. Looking back, comparing that with the other post that I put out, it had all the sweet spots that a good post does. So it was digestible. So it was short, 3 bullets. The quicker you can make your point, the better. People are busy. The second thing, it was relatable. Everybody knows what it is. Sausage on toast, sausage sandwich. That in itself spread the reach because people were going, "Oh, it's not sausage on toast. What's that? It's a sausage sandwich." And of course, every time somebody comments on it, a lot of people within their network will then see that, and it increases the reach of the post. The third thing is it was simple, so you get it straight away. There's no explanation. There's nothing complex about it. And the fourth thing is that people can transfer it over to whatever it is that they do, so that you get some use. There's a value in it, so they can do that with whatever their products or services are. Which, let's face it, it's not even copywriting. It's just descriptive language. It's the use of adjectives. It's been a bit wanky, to be honest, with words. But But I mean, if you can do that, and upsell, or sell or get a greater price for one of your products just by describing it better, it's win-win. The fifth thing was that there was no sales. So the call to action was, do you want your stuff to sound more appealing? Give me a bell. It wasn't me talking about my product description, services, or anything like that, too formal. So it was just leaving it open, so nobody felt too pressured. And the last thing was that it was polarizing. So just like I said about the sausage on toast to the sausage sandwich, people were also saying, hang on a sec, if you had this really expensive £8 sausage, why would you only sell it for £3? So we also brought in a load of people who were calling me out on what was still just, I was just like, look guys, this is just, it's hypothetical. I'm just making an example here. But I had one guy, he trolled me for like a week. He called me a liar, a plagiarist, a fraud, a criminal. He was making all sorts of equivalents. He was saying, why would you, if you had a Lamborghini, why would you sell a Lamborghini for the price of a whatever, I think he was an American guy, whatever the lower end car was, the equivalent of like a Ford Cortina. And I was like, you're missing the point, mate. But
sounds like a Lincolnshire sausage merchant that you were upsetting there, disguised as an American guru. So what's brilliant about that is that you were showing your work, which I think is a key thing. I've heard you speak about this before, and there's a big thing in copy, particularly in the freelance community, I find, where we can go into the value of copywriters and all that kind of stuff, but people often take advantage of copywriters. They'll say, oh, can you do this for free? Can you do this stuff on spec? Can you do this thing? And obviously it's not advisable to be doing stuff for free, but I've seen you speak about it before, and I think I certainly believe that one of the best ways to get work and to get new clients is not necessarily to do stuff for free, but it's to show the potential of what you can do, and this is a great way of doing that, isn't it? It's showing rather than telling, saying I could do this. It's saying this is how you do it, and that builds that trust up straight away. And it's giving you, as you've continued to do this, it's giving you a great kind of almost like a portfolio of stuff to share anyway. But it's live action kind of showing rather than telling, and I think that's useful, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in any industry, I mean, I've obviously got the benefit, the fact that LinkedIn's a primarily, text-based platform, so I can kind of put my money where my mouth is when I'm writing. It's a lot harder for people who are perhaps not they don't do what I do. So if you were a florist, for instance, you could show what you do by showing a video of you arranging flowers. Like I said, although I'm kind of telling by showing, if that's the way to do it, there's ways that can be transferred over to other industries as well. I think in the creative industry, you can always demonstrate what you're good at just by showing you working out, like when you're at school and you got points for working out in maths. I'm a firm believer in that, even if the end result is often just, it's subjective, isn't it, really, creatively? There's no right and wrong answer. But if you can show the method that you follow, then I think people believe and buy into that process, and trust you more.
And you've seen that in these different examples. So from the sausage example, you went on and you started doing more and more of these.
Yeah, but before I did that, I made sure that I was optimizing my entire profile, because I thought there's no point in me just writing stories willy-nilly or post willy-nilly if people didn't really get what I did. So that's whenever people ask me for advice, oh, you're doing well on LinkedIn, what can you do? I always say start with your profile. And like I said at the start, people just see it as a reflection of your CV, which it's structured to be like that. You've got a mini, almost like a mini statement at the top. Then you've got your work history. Then you've got your skills. But throw all that out the window. Make your profile. It's not about you. It's about the potential customer. It's about the person on it. So you start with how you can help somebody, what you've done, who you've done it for, and how people can contact you. If you get all that information in the in your mini profile part, that's kind of job done. You've explained how you can help people rather than making people do the work, which quite a few people start with on LinkedIn. and also make sure there's no buzzwords on your profile as well. Like I said before about hardworking and adaptable and using initiative. It's more, look, if you need this X, Y, Z, I can do it. Here's what I've done for others, and just be nice and direct and upfront with people. I think that's the best.
That's a good. It's a really good point. I know that myself. I mean, my LinkedIn profile, God knows what it looks like, but I know it's not up to scratch in terms of as I would have once upon a time done like a CV situation. But I think that's a really good point, because I think people will fill in their LinkedIn as they would do a CV, which is that same crappy language of like, I work good as a team, I do this, I like going socializing and going on Facebook as my hobbies and stuff like that, which is just obscene and ridiculous. It's just like you would do with your own website. You're suggesting that you make your LinkedIn profile almost about the reader, and it's turning it back on them and saying, right, what do you need to know about me to be able to facilitate or benefit you, rather than, oh, I've got a French qualification and can do 1500 meter swimming kind of thing.
Exactly. That's the key to it. It's putting yourself in their world and explaining straight away how you're going to benefit them, not the other way around. I mean, provided you explain how you can help them, how you can, and be upfront and direct about it. I'm going to save you money. I'm going to save you time. I'm going to make you look cooler. Anything you can do that gives them value within.
And purely technical level, are you talking about filling this in the kind of in your little bio bit beneath your profile? That's where your main bit you're going to get your
list. Just in the bio bit, because I found a lot of the time when you do a post that bangs and everybody, you see the views go up and you can see the metrics now. So you get to see such and such is viewing your profile. I mean, that sausage on toast one. I was seeing people viewing my profile by the minute. The views were just going up, and everyone was going to my profile, and I was like, "Shit, the profile's bad at the moment." It's just what it literally was. I'm a communications professional and all of that. I was like, I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board here. So I made sure that was the first port of call for before I did put any other effort into to writing posts. It was making sure that profile sold me as well as it could, because if I can't sell myself, I've got no chance with other people's products and services. So
don't say that. Every introvert copywriter worries about that. But anyway, so that's the first tip is if to use LinkedIn to get more leads. The first thing is you need to be updating your profile, making it complete and what have you, but fundamentally making sure it talks to the viewer, talks to the reader, talks to that potential employer or client that might hire your services. Once you've done that, what's your other tips have you got for people on there?
Okay, so once the profile's boxed off, the next one, again, before you start writing the posts, you should really try and grow the number of connections you've got, because the more connections you've got, the more people liking and sharing and commenting on your posts, the further the reach will be. So if you can grow your connections before doing posts, you've got more chance of them being seen by more people. It's that simple. So,
and how do you go about getting more connections?
There's a few ways. So you can search. There's a little search button at the top, or search form at the top, so you can search by industry or job title. So you can really target the types of people that fit your typical persona when you're when you're selling your services. So if I was to focus on I don't know, startups, I'd be searching for entrepreneur or startup as that kind of search term. And then it's just a case of sending them a message and connecting with them. Some will connect with you, others won't. Others will want to see you demonstrate value first, which is what more and more people are tending to be doing lately. You need to send them an introductory message first when you send that request. So it almost introduces yourself, instantly gets across what value you bring, and kind of coaxes them into accepting the connection request. Like I said, it's becoming harder to do as people are a little bit wiser to the people who are trying to really sell stuff from the outset and just talking about themselves and I've got this.
I was just going to say, like, because I got inundated with ridiculous LinkedIn messages from people, and it's that initial trying to sell me. I mean, I don't know who missed the memo on this, because I thought it was pretty universal, but like, as soon as you're saying, here's our thing that we could do, and blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's irrelevant. Some people will notch it up to a level where it's like, we could potentially get you this, and I'm like, yeah, still not really sure about that. Kind of do it for me, then I might be interested, or give me an example of it, which is what you're doing in your post. But you when you're looking to grow your connections, it is about making the connection and using it as a, not so much a social, but a social networking profile kind of thing. It's oh, I'm interested in the same things you are as a business person. I might be able to help you, but not going out for a hard sell in that initial message.
No, leave any selling until you kind of 4 or 5 messages into your communications with the connection. I think you're always in danger of just alienating them if you go in too fast. People hate being sold to. Sure. Everybody does. It puts you on the back foot straight away. So if you can craft that initial opening message as more of a conversation starter, like we had at the start of this conversation. Oh, how's it going? Stuff like that. Natural human stuff, which is the copywriter fail-safe. How do you want to sound? Oh, natural, human, conversational, friendly. But it kind of works on LinkedIn if you are that. It immediately separates you from we provide innovative solutions that can transform your, and the tone is just like, wow, the poles apart. So yeah, the more conversation you can be in that opening message, and just be dead normal up front. Oh, if it is an entrepreneur, oh, how are you finding lockdown at the moment? Oh, just an open question. That's all it can take. That's all it can take sometimes, just to open that conversation. So that's the first way, really, you approaching them. The second way to grow your connections is by you can also search on, similar to the way you do on Twitter, you can search by hashtag. So if you're a specialist in a particular niche, so say I was in, I don't know, hairdressing. If I was a hairdressing copywriter, I'd do hashtag hairdressing. I could find all the people that were talking about that. It could be hairdressing marketing, and then I could then pitch in with my advice, expertise, comment, anything, just to show that I've got something to share, something useful to share to other people's conversations that they're having. So if somebody started a post about, I don't know, the best ways to keep your hairdressing business's marketing going during the coronavirus crisis, you could then pitch in with, oh, I've got such and such ideas, and you don't know this person. All you're doing, you've searched for the hashtag, and you can comment on that because their profile is open. I think you can, obviously, you've got certain privacy settings as well on LinkedIn. I think a lot of people are now opening their profiles up to allow anybody to comment on the stuff that they post, which again is an opportunity to join in on a conversation. If they like what you say, or if you seem, to be offering advice, reasonable responses to the questions that they're asking you back, that's when you hit them with either a connection request, or the beauty of it is sometimes they'll connect with you first because they see you as a source of authority and expertise. So, well, this guy's giving me free tips for nothing here. I'll connect with him and get some more of him. So that's the second way. The
classic give value, and eventually you'll reap the benefits of that. That works universally across any form of social media, but it's true, and certainly so on LinkedIn. It's an opportunity for you to interact actively with people without any. You have to go. There's like probably a graph that people just go, hang on a minute, who's this person? And then they go, oh, actually no, there's a maintains, like, no, he's still there, he's still commenting and still involved. He must be genuine. She must be genuine. I'll follow her, get involved, and you've grown your connections that way in a very nicely organic way. So rule number one, make sure your profile's up to scratch, talking to the potential clients. Rule number two, grow those potential clients, but with targeted searches, using hashtags, using profiles of people that you know. And I think, I'm not sure if you've said it openly before, Dave, but I feel like I associate with you, but go after things that you like as well, like the areas of business that you're interested in. You've talked about it there a couple of times where there's different areas, but if you go into those areas that you are familiar with and enjoy, then it's going to be much easier to connect with them in the long term anyway, because they're the right kind of client for you. So do that. You've got a few more followers. What's the next stage?
It's to get cracking with your content, really. But the content and the growing the connections, they kind of work together. So if you start posting content that's so useful and so engaging that people read it and like it and share it, when one person likes it and shares it, the people within their network will see it as well. So then that can just snowball effect then, and that's exactly what happened with the sausage on toast post, because I hadn't done the targeting by industry or sector. I hadn't searched by any hashtags. All I'd written was a daft little post about sausage on toast, which people engaged with, and people wanted to, people were clicking like, share, comment, and all of their people in their network were seeing, oh, how good's this? Such and such. The comments were just crazy. It just, the way it snowballed was nuts. So provided you hit the sweet spot with your content, that's a third way you can grow your connections. But there's ways, there's different, obviously, types of content that you can post, which some are more engaging than others. I can kind of pinpoint which ones are gonna do better than others. So I've got some tips that I can run through in terms of the content itself. So on LinkedIn, there's a probably about 5 or 6, I think, different formats that you can publish content. So you can choose images. There's slideshows. So you can upload a PDF doc or something. There's videos. There's the written posts, which is predominantly what I do. Or there's longer articles, which you can post as well, which are almost like blog posts. I think LinkedIn used to call it LinkedIn Pulse. I'm sure it's been rebranded a couple of times. But the posts themselves, text posts, written posts, tend to do round about 10 times better than the articles themselves, just because the articles tend to show up as links away from what the post is. So you're putting a barrier in the way straight away. So I've found just from my own testing and experience that the written posts tend to work well. Obviously, if you're in a particular field where a video would work best to illustrate what you do, or if you're an illustrator or an artist and you want to put some images up there, that's fine. But obviously as a copywriter, I'm going to be focusing on the written side of things. And the really, I'm probably telling copywriters how to suck eggs here, but the really back to the copywriting fundamentals, which are, before I even get into any ideas, the approach that you should take is always keep things simple and human. So write conversationally, avoid buzzwords, use get instead of obtain. Don't use any industry acronyms that nobody will understand, or why even risk alienating people that don't understand them. So keep things simple. The second one is always put the read first, which we've touched on earlier, but the amount of times I'll see businesses start their opening gambit with, "We're delighted to announce." Those 4 words, it's just crazy, because you miss an opportunity to start the conversation by flipping it on its head and saying, "You'll be pleased to hear," because that's all you're doing. You're inviting the reader in, rather than just saying, "We're delighted to announce, we're proud to reveal," the same old stale buzzwordy stuff that people see over and over and over again from all these businesses. So that's the second one. Put your reader first, not you. Third, I think we've touched on it before, but don't try and sell. People hate being sold to. So provided you make your content so good that it illustrates what you're good at, or what your products are good at, or what your service does really well, they will contact you before you'll have to contact them. That's how that works. And the fourth one is just make sure everything has value. So put yourself in the reader's shoes. If you think, as I'm writing this post, if you think deep down, this is just all about me, really, this isn't giving anybody any value, I'm just tooting my own horn, I'm buzzing off the awards that I've won, or it's just completely self-centered, people are going to switch off. People invest their time in stuff that gives them value, and that value can come as tips, advice, a particular opinion that they weren't aware of, some knowledge or statistics that you might have done a survey or spoken to some of your customers, and you've got this really standout statistic that you can share that no one really knows about. So you're giving people insight, and just really the one I found it's the sweet spot again most is just raising a smile, having a bit of fun, being a bit weird, having a laugh, telling a joke. Not all the time, because people just, people won't take you seriously if that's all you do. But provided you can worm that into your content to make, I try and make every, or the majority of posts that I put out there have some kind of punchline or a little humorous payoff, so that when you get to the end, you're always left with that little, oh, wasn't that nice? Nice. There was a nice little ending to that. So the other things, constantly deliver value in all the posts, and there are five key approaches that I'll take to different posts. So do you want me to run them through them?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So the first one is to offer some generic tips. So not the same old listicle tips. So how to improve your business, or 5 ways to, I don't know, clean your car without using a sponge, which I'd probably want to click on.
Yeah, I'm quite interested in that.
Yeah, click on that. But give your perspective on things. So get away from whatever your opening line is. If you can find that on Google, you're doing it wrong. So stuff that I've written in the past include so rather than saying how to choose a great business name, I've written a post which is 9 negative ways to avoid picking a horrible business name. So it's just reframing of that, but it's making people think, oh, that's a bit weird, I'm going to click on that. Or the one that done quite well before Christmas was 7.4 ways to make more people read your posts, which straight away it's like 7.4, what's all that about? So and whatever your industry, you can take that standard kind of tips list and just put your spin on it that nobody else is doing. I think about what you might like to read, or what might capture your attention.
How did you justify the 0.4?
The 0.4, I've got the tips here.
I mean, you could just say that's one of the points, but I'm always interested to see how you justify, which I think it's a good thing to point out, I think, actually, because if people, you were saying earlier on about the entertainment and stuff like that, but also when you are entertaining and weird and a bit funny, and it sounds like an insult, doesn't it? Say you're a bit funny, Dave. You're quite funny, but you are. Your stuff is entertaining, and it brings value in the entertainment, which I think is interesting. But it's one of those things that you do have to pay off the funny. It has to be a clever quip on it. It has to be justified, kind of thing. I always remember I used to do an email, and one of the most successful subject lines I did was I basically used the Amazon delivery subject line that was around. So it used to say your order with Amazon kind of thing was the standard Amazon thing. So you'd always check it because you want to see what your order is you coming. So I just for a financial e-letter used the same thing, and it got the biggest open rate because people are opening it to go, oh, I didn't order anything with Amazon. Within the first 3 lines, I had to very quickly justify why I'd used that and explain it. I was able to, and therefore the click-through rate also was up as well. But it's just, you've always got to pay those things off. But yeah, so what was the 0.4? You got it there?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously knew that people were just going to skip 1 to 6. So I didn't even have a 7. It just went to 7.4, and it was just get a bit weird. Writing stuff people aren't expecting to read will intrigue them enough to delve deeper, and that's all it was. There's your payoff. And again, the call to action was, let me know if you get stuck. It wasn't, get in touch and I will provide innovative marketing solutions. It was just all just dead simple, dead human. So yeah, so that's the let me click back into the other one. So that's the first one, generic tips. Provided you can put your own spin on it, it's they're always going to be more readable than your same old listicles. So the second one is topical spin, which is probably apt at the moment. So there's obviously a lot of stuff flying, certainly on LinkedIn, loads of tips and advice. I think at the start of the lockdown, it was working from home tips. There was work from home diaries, and you know, how to be more productive from work when you're working from home and stuff. So provided you can do that, but again, put your own spin on whatever's being talked about, and make it relevant, make it useful, make it stuff people that aren't necessarily reading by the bucket load on LinkedIn. Then again, you're gonna draw more people in and make more people engage with that post. So I did a couple recently. So one was how to avoid technical bullshit in your posts when you're writing about anything to do with Corona, so that anyone understands you. And I made a reference to the government. I think everybody got it, didn't they? The text message the government sent.
Oh yeah.
New rules in force. You must stay at home. And the last bit said more info and exemptions at whatever the website was. And I thought, how many people do really understand? Okay, I get what exemptions means, but if you're trying to get a point across nice and quick, simply to the whole country, to 70 million people, how many people are going to read that and go, exemptions? And you won't even have a clue what it means. So that was just one example of how to kind of get it wrong. And then the second one was how to, a couple of days after that, was how to speak about your business without coming across like a cold-hearted, money-grabbing arsewipe. So that was a bit more, obviously loads of people were doing those tips, how to still talk about your business.
Yeah.
Mark Ritson did a great one, how to market during the time of Corona. But I thought, let's just put a little bit of a cheekier spin on it,
Yeah.
and throw the word arsewiping. So again, that was just tips for, you know, a lot of them boil down to put readers first. Nobody cares about you, especially in a crisis. You know, speak from the heart. You've seen all of these CEO messages flying around. It's like they've all been written from the same boilerplate.
Yep.
Where they're talking about deep cleaning and rigorous standards and, you know, the same old shite. It just comes across cold. So write something original. It'll sound more human. And then just other tips about being empathetic, being compassionate, and trying to be calm and avoid inflaming the situation further. So that's the second one, putting a topical spin on things. And the third one is telling stories, which again it's probably easy for me because my background's journalism. I've told daft stories all my life, and it's been at the kind of heart of what I can do. But if you can tell stories that make a compelling point at the end, you'll draw people in. You know, we naturally tune in to stories. You only got to think back to it. You know, infant school when everyone's shuts their mouth for story time and listens to the teacher. But in my stories, I try and I'm massively inspired by Dave Trott, the way he structures his stories, and there's always an amazing payoff at the end, which again I see as kind of my punchline whenever I do any humorous line to finish it off. That's the clincher for me. But rather than, I know Dave, I mean, his stories, he goes into like World War II pilots' names, and he talks about, I don't know, you know, when Genghis Khan was, and I'm like, whoa, it's just like these amazing tales, which completely...
He just goes on Google and he just picks the first thing on Wikipedia. He's making it all up.
Yeah, that's probably what happens. But it works so well. So I take inspiration from that, but I try and, which kind of goes against my, what I said earlier about putting your reader first. What I do, I position some of my stories from my own tales. So it could be from my childhood, or daft things my parents have said, or something that's happened that week. I'll tell like an anecdote about something, or, which is a little bit naughty, I'll just make something up to get a point across. But it'll always be obviously believable that it's made up. So for like a family story that I wrote was about the time my mum told me that my face was going to explode if I ate any more chicken fouillons. So I obviously told this story, made the point about the carefully chosen words. I think I mentioned it to I mentioned it on a previous podcast a few months ago, where the words my mum chose that day. So your face is going to explode. They actually made me sit up and take notice more than you know, you're going to get fat, stop eating that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was all about the power of words. And then one recently that I wrote just on the fly, I thought, how can I write something about that can make people think about the importance of focusing on one message rather than you know, throwing 5 or 6 different key messages onto an email, expecting them all to hit, when in reality none of them work. So I'll just read that one out for you. So this is Dave to the power of 9. This one. So in 1989, I moved in with my older cousin. He was into his weights, and one night, after showing me how to bench press, he told me something that stayed with me. The best do as much as they can do, then they do 9 more. So I started doing it, 9 more reps at the end of every workout and 9 more minutes on the treadmill. I was Superman. By high school, I started on it there too. 9 more minutes of homework works wonders. So I smashed all my exams. But a few years later, 9 more spilled into the rest of my life, and things got a bit out of hand. 2 slices of toast for breakfast turned into the whole loaf. I couldn't leave the house without wearing every t-shirt in my wardrobe. And my love life, well, that was in tatters when my girlfriend, she found out I was 9-timing her. But it all came to a head in 2011 when I legally changed my name to Dave Harland. I nearly added another 9 Harlands, but I ran out of space on the form. And now, 9 years later, why am I telling you this? Because I urge you to not go down the road that I did. Stop trying to do Stop trying to do too much. Focus on one thing. Whatever you're selling, focus on one message. It stops things getting complicated. And then hashtag Dave to the power of 9. Oh, if you can, put a daft hashtag in just for the lols, like you do on Twitter. So that's one example of writing a daft story with a resonant message at the end, which kind of gets your point across. But I mean, it all boils down to make sure the opening line is intriguing, and you're gonna capture people's attention. So that did quite well. I got a couple of inquiries on that. Oh, just out the blue, people connecting with me. I love that story. Made me read to the end. Can you do that for our blogs? No one's reading them. That's how simple it is. That's how simple it is. So that was the third one. So then the fourth one is, I think we've kind of covered it already, but it's practice what you preach. So it's illustrating what you do. So the sausage on toast thing was a perfect example. So I've done a few more of them since then. So I've written some about the importance of mixing up short and long sentences when you're writing, simply by just writing short and long sentences in the post itself, so you can see the importance of mixing the pace. I've talked about using intrigue to capture attention, things like that, which again, if you are a specialist in a particular sector, or you've got a specific skill, provided you can show you're working out and show how you do it on LinkedIn, you're going to be illustrating what you do to those potential customers. So that's a great way to do it. And the last one is just have fun. Number 5 is just have a bit of fun. Sometimes, people are human at the end of the day. They might be CEOs, they might be, heads of industry, but they still kick their shoes off at the end of the day. They like having a laugh at daft cat videos, and if you can just raise a smile, whether it's in any of the posts that I've previously mentioned, or just standalone ones, so talk about things that you found funny that week, or tell anecdotes about awkward situations, or tell jokes, or I mean, I quite like dropping a poem in now and again, which again illustrates really, illustrates my skills. So I can write a poem for a particular brand if they want it, or on social media they tend to work quite well. But I did one about my wife's a hairdresser. So at the moment, I feel like one of the lucky ones. I don't know if you can see that. Only the short back and sides. The top's still a little bit long.
Ruth did some of mine with my thing, but she's literally on Amazon this morning. Nice. She's realised that she's going to have to take the top off. So she's now trying to order stuff off Amazon just to cut my hair. But actually wants to she learns anything that she can get her hands to. There's like a natural talent for everything. But now she's so in a couple of days, you might expect to see either a really nice hairdo or a shaven head that it's gone.
Cut territory.
Yeah.
So that was one I did just the other day. So obviously I've got nothing to offer her in return. She doesn't need any copywriting at the moment for our salon because it's closed and all of our staff are on furlough. So I just wrote a poem about it, daft poem, put it out there, and you know, probably 50 or 60 likes, not necessarily winning me much business, but you just occasionally show the personal side, certainly show your human side. People are going to relate to you a bit more, and they're more likely to trust you and then see.
Sure. Because it's a cumulative thing, isn't it? We've gone through and you've given a great example of what you can do. And we'll go through it just to recap in a minute, but the overarching thing, and I think this comes across in what you do, and anyone who I do take notice of on these platforms, is that you're consistent and you're there and you're talking regularly. And if you're looking at like business things, you want to be looking at stats and return and all that kind of stuff. But when it's more about promoting yourself in this way, you've just got to be consistent and always there. And just because that day it's not there, or you don't see the love back or something, it might be another day that they're there, and it's just maintaining it and being there really does help. If you go out and try what you've said today, obviously going and getting your LinkedIn profile sorted, getting your connections, and then using those different ways of providing content. The first one might not get a hit, but slowly but surely over time, people will start to notice, oh, actually, that's cool. Now, you might get a complete viral thing like you've had with the sausage on toast, and other ones that I've seen have gone really well. And they're the spikes that are coming, but you can't just expect that to happen straight away. You've got to be working your way along and being there and just keep kicking the can along, so to speak. Yeah,
absolutely. It's down to testing. Not everything is going to catch fire. In fact, most don't. The ones that do, like I say, I've explained earlier, they tend to be polarizing. They're always engaging. They often have a little bit of a takeaway that but you can't really find anywhere else. So I'm putting a completely new spin on it, on your tried and tested tips and things.
And just thinking about it as well. I was just thinking, like, a lot of people come to me, like junior copywriters and young like copywriters starting out, and always want to know, what do I do and everything. And my advice is becoming increasingly boring as to like just read and then write every day kind of thing. But they are the fundamentals. But what you're doing by doing this is that you're actually also, as a side thing, as well as attracting new clients who are seeing what you're doing, you're writing copy every day. You're writing all the time these new things, and you're testing yourself and improving your copywriting skills as well, because you're saying, oh, right, actually that kind of post works well. I'll adapt that, and how can I tell a different story but in a similar way? And it gives you that opportunity to write up a lot more than you are. People often are sat there going, oh, I'll write spec work for someone else and do all this stuff. But actually, this is a way of testing your copy or developing your copy skills, but also at the same time using it to potentially get new clients and actually show people, rather than it just sitting in a file that no one ever sees, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that's how it works. What you said just then about you doing it every day. So there's a lot of people out there. I don't know if it's like a hashtag thing on Twitter, or there's a website set up where I think there's something about writing 500 words a day, and it could be about anything. It just could be a mental diatribe of whatever. It's just getting something down and getting into the habits. And the more you do that, and the more you kind of force yourself essentially to come up with ideas every day, and come up with ways of expressing ideas and exploring new ways of explaining things in different ways. That is ultimately always, even if it doesn't work, you've tested it out, and it might work further down the line for any one of your clients. I mean, I always have, whenever I'm working on any job, there's the draft one that gets sent to the client, but there's also a development doc with all of my thoughts, all of my thinking, everything that I've thought about on that job, whether it's gobbledygook or near enough the finished product, it's always there. So provided you've got that, there's always a way. The client might even go with it, but your thinking might work perfectly for somebody else in a different sector further down the line. So I completely agree that the more you do it, you're going to, the more you're challenging yourself to post. And it doesn't have to be every day. even if it's twice a week, provided what you're putting up there is full of value and it's kind of adheres to what I've already spoke about earlier, you're going to get more engagement than just posting, you know, mindless stuff about your own business every day, which is what a lot of businesses tend to do.
Yeah, it's what I do sometimes, mate. We've got our we've got our name for the talk. It's got to be some how sausage on toast can get you new clients. So I think we're good there, man. Thank you so much for your time, Dave. I look forward to reading more of your work, and everybody should follow you, and if they're not already. Thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take it easy.